Brad Van Meter is a proud sponsor of our work here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm. Brad's a great insurance provider down at Fleur Drive at his office for State Farm in Des Moines. Call him at 515-256-6480 or visit his website, bradvanmeter.com. You can also visit his office at 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines for all of your insurance needs. Again, Brad, a longtime partner with us here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm. So call 515-256-6480 for all of your insurance needs. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What can you say? From a game that took years off our lives in Rutgers to a game that we thought we had under control that then absolutely fell apart. Corey has done the banners for today. Corey is out sick with us, or not joining us today due to illness. Got a case of the flu, so he's making our banners tonight, and I think that's an incredibly appropriate banner. What was that? From a start that looked not hopeless, but very discouraging, to a dominant middle part of the game, to oh my gosh, what are they doing down the stretch? Iowa survives USC 73-72 inside the confines of Carver-Hawkeye Arena. A win is a win, but my goodness, that was something. I don't know, and I will have to ask Coach Close this. We're going to have him on in just a second. I don't know that I can ever recall a player that averages 3 points a game in Cam Woods doing what he just did tonight, scoring 19 straight points when USC had no hope, down 15 with 5 minutes to go. All of a sudden they had life, and actually probably should have won this game if it wasn't for a very unintelligent foul down at Iowa's end of the court there. A reach in from 28 feet away from the basket with 5 seconds to go that put Bennett Sturts at the free throw line, down one. My goodness. We're going to get your calls, get to your chats tonight. Again, Coach Gary Close joining us in just a second. Corey will not be with us due to illness. Hoping to be back tomorrow. No confirmation on that just yet for Iowa women's basketball post game with Kasheen Alexander. Again, hoping to have him back for that, but just not sure yet. But man, if you'd like to talk the game, please, I'm going to drop a StreamYard link in the chat. So please go ahead and click that link if you'd like to talk about tonight's game or comment in the live stream at StreamYard. Best way to guarantee that your comment gets showed is to super chat. If you're wanting to make sure that I see your comment tonight or ask Coach Close your question, please go ahead and do that. But without further ado, to help us process this, to help us stomach it, to help us unpack it and explain it, Coach Gary Close. Coach, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Well, my blood pressure's still a little high. My heart rate's still a little high, but I'm good. A win is a win. That is the positive. You cannot drop home games in this league and end up with a good record at the end and a good seed in March Madness. So it's good to see them. Good to see them get it done. But what do you make of such a wild game from the start? They had going down 10-0 in the blink of an eye, couldn't make a shot. There was a lid on the basket for the first 8 minutes, to really what was a pretty dominant mid part of this game. They got to the shots that they wanted to get to. Tavion and Bennett really were doing their thing. And then all of a sudden, Cam Woods turned into Tiger Woods, started making everything. And had a shot to win the game down the stretch there. And again, really should have if it wasn't for that foul down at the other end with 5 seconds to go. What do you make of a game with such wild fluctuations?
That was crazy. It's hard to put a finger on. I think the cold start was probably anticipated with as many days they had off. That didn't totally surprise me.
Yeah.
It just, when you're not playing, it's going to take you a little bit. But then they finally, they found the groove and played pretty well, and then could not guard that kid for whatever that stretch was just unbelievable. And they're fortunate to win. A dumb foul, as you said. I think he was trying to call timeout. So now you got a sideline out of bounds with less than 5 seconds, and that's not an easy way to convert. So I'm sure they're, glad and fortunate to have the win. It'd be a hell of a lot better than the loss, but it was scary to say the least.
Have you ever seen, again, we can go back through the numbers here in just a second, but he scored 19 straight, had 33 points tonight, I believe was the final count for Cam Woods, 12 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3. Do you ever remember, and I know Corey has talked to me about how he just was texting me tonight during the game saying he was a very good player at Robert Morris. Corey kind of wanted him to come to Iowa after his stint at Robert Morris. So obviously he's been a successful player at a lower level of basketball, but a guy that, again, averaged 3 points a game for the first half of the season here with USC. Have you ever seen a player, or is there anything that comes to mind on a player that outperforms his average by 30 points in a game like that?
I'm not sure I've ever seen
such wild fashion.
Like that. Yeah. No, it's interesting. Jordan Taylor did the color commentary for the game, and he had a game against Ohio State when they were number 1 and we beat them. And he went off a lot like that, but he was an accomplished player. No, I really haven't seen anything quite like that. He, hadn't made a 3 all year. Was a 50% free throw shooter. I mean, you could tell they weren't. What was discouraging is they obviously weren't guarding him on the perimeter because he had no reason to. Based on I'm sure what they've seen on tape and looking at the stats, but they could not stay in front of him. He was just too quick. And he got just point blank shots. Then you get your confidence going, and then all of a sudden you got somebody that's playing better than he probably is and hard to stop. So give the kid credit. He was unreal. It's he misses his last 2 shots, he makes one of them, or don't make a dumb foul, they probably win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Another just quick thing to hit here again before we get to our call-in line. Again, if you'd like to talk to myself or Coach Close, we do have the phone line open. Corey is operating it probably from his bed today, as he's a little bit under the weather, but is operating our phone line. So if you don't want to call, our 515 phone line is open if you'd like to talk to myself or Coach Close. Bennett Sturtz and Tavion Banks have really separated themselves from the rest of this team offensively. They both have 20 tonight. Score 40 out of the 73 points, and that doesn't even account for obviously Bennett's playmaking. Didn't have tons of assists tonight, but generally speaking, good for 6 to 8 assists. Talk about those two a little bit and what they've been able to do. Obviously, it makes it very problematic when Tavion fouls out at the end of the game.
Yeah, that hurt.
When you're so reliant on him for offensive contributions. But talk about those two, what they were able to do that was so successful in the middle of that game, and how you feel about having a team that really is becoming extremely dependent on one end of the court on 2 guys.
Yeah, I think I think that could change. I mean, the kid off the bench at 17, he had a big boost, and they've got other guys that are capable. Sturtz is a proven terrific player, and he had to work for everything he got. That kid did a good job on him. I mean, Sturtz has 4 turnovers. He probably doesn't have 4 turnovers in 4 games. So he earned everything he got. Banks was a handful. They had a hard time controlling him, and looks like he's gaining more and more confidence. He's getting a little more comfortable around the rim, and then obviously he's automatic at the free throw line. So that's a guy that's got to get the ball inside with those attributes. So they both played well.
And again, I know you mentioned this at the beginning of the game. Is it as simple as they were just off for that many nights? Again, basket had a lid on it. there's times where they get good shots and they just don't go down. I think that's easy to accept, but they definitely looked a little bit discombobulated to start the game. Was there anything beyond kind of they were off for a few days that was up with that? And then what was able to sort of shake them out of that funk to get back in the game? Because they did recover once they were able to get some shots to go down, they were able to recover fairly quickly, only down 1.5.
Yeah, I think the good thing is it wasn't like they were taking a lot of bad shots. They just weren't making them. And so the game's a little bit quicker and than it is maybe in a practice situation. But to their credit, they just kind of, maintained their poise, did what they were supposed to do, and eventually, got their mojo back, so to speak, and played well for a good part of the game. And it'll affect you on the defensive end as well. It's not just the offensive end that'll lay off. You're a little slow in your rotations. You're not anticipating maybe as well or as crisp as you normally were. So that didn't surprise me. And SC has been playing pretty well. They had a big game against Wisconsin, kind of the same deal. They were down like 15 in the middle of the second half and came back and beat them. So they have been playing pretty well. And sometimes when you're behind, you just kind of let it go because you got nothing else to lose anyway. Fortunately they were able to score one more point and escape. It would, the alternative would have been much, much worse.
Absolutely. I'd like to take a moment here before we get to any callers to just talk about our Discord server. Again, we've had plenty of people join in. I think we're above 60 members in our Discord now. So if you do want to be a part of our Discord server, there are links in the description. I'll just pull this up. I can't find the Discord banner here, but links are in the description for super chats for Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. But you can also donate and label it Discord. Donate $5 to cover 1 month, or $50. There we go. Corey's got me. $5 a month or $50 a year via PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. Label your donation Discord, and we will get you in that server where you can interact with people like myself, Kashin, and Corey Brada, of course, from week to week. All right, let's see here. Let's get to our phone line here. All right, 515 phone line. Oh, they chose to mute themselves. Let's do that for a second here, and I'll get Cody in for just one moment here, and we'll get back to that phone line. All right, Cody, how are we doing? That was chaotic.
Very good. How are you guys?
Good, Cody. How are you?
Happy.
Good. Did you have a safe trip back, Gary? No.
Yeah, uneventful. Although I have to tell you, I don't think I've been outside more than a half an hour combined in the 10 days I've been back or whatever.
I hear you.
Looking forward to going back south, even though even down there it's bad.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah,
just a couple of things. I thought that 3-ball that Alvaro stuck for us when we had no momentum was such a huge hit for him because,
absolutely.
I mean, everybody knows, like, when it comes to shots, like you hit shots or whatever, but the timing of shots is such a big deal. And we were on the ropes right there. I mean, they had everything, and he stuck. That was great, I thought. But I wanted to ask you, Gary, have you ever seen something like what happened in the second half? So in the interview, Musselman basically complained outright, essentially, to Andy Katz about the foul discrepancy. And then the next thing you know, before the under 16, we've got 7 fouls. And I mean, some of them were fouls. And I mean, I thought we got a pretty good whistle in the first half. But if you've been in a situation like that before, Gary, and if so, like, I mean, what do you say to the ref on something like, because that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, I think they might be the leading team in the league in terms of free throws attempted. So, I mean, that's their game. And
right.
Iowa did a good job of not fouling. I can tell you an unbelievable situation. We're playing Duke in the national championship game. And that year we averaged 8 fouls per game. We were the number one team in the country with fewest fouls. And Coach K just went off right before half, and he called a couple of timeouts and just spent the whole time out screaming at the officials. And in the second half, in the first half, we only had 2 fouls, and both of them weren't very good calls, but you're gonna have that. In the second half, we were called for 16, and it basically cost us the game. And I can remember some of the players, they couldn't even talk to the officials. What's going on? We're playing the exact same way we played before. What's happening? So, officials are human, and they know what the foul count is, and they're probably discussing at halftime, hey, did we miss any? We better watch this a little closer. It's 9-4, whatever it was. And so I'm sure that had something to do with it. Something you got to play through.
Well, I just noticed too, because when Cam Woods was driving, I mean, everybody was just trying to wall up because nobody wanted to even touch him. And it's I mean, he was on a heater. I mean, which obviously that's fine, but when you can't even play defense because they're getting 2 shots anytime you touch them, I don't know. And I'm not a big for blaming the refs because you got to figure out, you fight your way through it. You're not going to get every call. There's tons of plays you can make it up, but I mean, you could tell Cale Combs especially, he was just, I'm just going to try to wall up. I'm not even going to come down a little because they're going to blow it. But
yeah, well, that's where you got to be physical without fouling, which usually they are.
Yeah.
But they were getting beat off the dribble by that kid a ton. Even out in the perimeter, and much less when he got it in tight. And to his credit, he's not very big.
No, 6'2",
He was effective in there. I thought they had to be a little bit more physical and stick to their rules and tenets. And I think it got maybe they got tentative because of that, but you can't. You got to keep playing the way you play.
It's tough too because in a normal situation, right? He's a 50% free throw shooter. Sending him to the line is not the end of the world. But even tonight, he was even making those on top of his threes. I mean, it's just at a certain point, you just have to throw your hands up and say, "Hey, good stuff, man. Good stuff."
Yeah,
that final 3 was right on. It was just.
I know. I know. I was not betting against that.
I didn't look.
I know. Yeah. When I saw him let that fly, I'm like, no way.
Well, but 4 times it goes in. I've known those.
Yeah. He I mean, I tip my hat to him. He made the buckets, but man, the form on those 3-pointers and those free throws is not good. And I mean, I can't believe, hey, he made him. That's all that matters. But I'm like, man, the way I was looking at him, the way he shot, I'm like, how is this stuff going in? The stuff in the paint, it's okay, whatever, but the form on a couple of those threes. And I'm like, that's such a broken looking shot. And then splash.
Well, he hadn't made it until tonight.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I just wish guys could do that against other teams. I don't know. We always seem to have that. So. But thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right. Good to see you.
You too.
Right. Thank you, Cody. All right. A couple things before we get to our next caller here. Just to give you an update, Coach Close. Minnesota taking on Wisconsin in the game after Iowa, as you know. Minnesota currently just over halfway through the first half. Minnesota leads 25-9 in Madison.
Whoa.
So that's interesting. We'll see if that holds. I just wanted to, because I can't remember if I brought this up to you, Coach, and you probably know this, even if you don't know the exact numbers without me telling you, but there's some interesting data. I can't remember the company that put it out, or the analyst that put it out, but the kill shot statistics. Have you heard the kill shot statistics before? No. So kill shots are runs of 10 points or more, 10-0 or greater within a game. And so he went back and looked at all these games from the last 25 years or whatever. And figured out what the win probability was of if a team had one of those kill shots, if they had 2, how big the kill shot was. And it's interesting because tonight there were 2. There was 1 to start the game, and then there was 1 late in the game. So if a team had 1 10-0 run or greater, their odds of winning went from 50% to 71%. And that's 1 10-0 run at any point in the game. If a team had more 10-0 runs than the opponent, 10 plus point runs than the opponent or more, then their win probability went to 81%. And if they had 2 or more 10-0 runs or greater, their win percentage went to about 9 out of 10 games. So Iowa survived the opposite end of that tonight. It's an 88% win probability. If a team has 2 10-point or more runs in a game, it's an 88% win probability. So Iowa dodged that tonight, which is really big. And then 15 and 20-0 runs obviously have an even greater impact. Are you surprised by any of that, or does that kind of
No, I think
align
that
with.
sounds pretty, pretty logical. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those are
Probably surprised they
just
didn't
so.
win.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Based
It
on
makes
those
you
stats.
even more fortunate if you're an Iowa fan to have especially. I mean, really, you'd probably say in college basketball, the two most important parts of the game, the start and the finish, right? Like
Yeah,
the way that you come out of the block is very indicative in a lot. I mean, you see a lot of these Big Ten games
sure.
where teams go up 15 in the first half and then they just cruise. And then you see a lot of these games where you have these runs late and the momentum's too much to stop. So good stuff there. Let me throw some stuff up here. We'll get to our phone line in just a second. I wanted to make sure we got to this because we've got a few USC fans in our chat tonight, and I wanted to see if you had anything to say to them, Coach. That was rigged from a USC fan, and then that same guy says, "USC fan here. If we won like that, I would not be happy." What do you have to say to this gentleman tonight?
I'm not exactly sure where they're coming from. It was obvious a foul. I think maybe that's what they're talking about. He did it right in front of the official.
Yeah, the official was about 5 feet away from Bennett.
Shouldn't even have been close to doing it. I think if he doesn't foul, they got a great chance of winning, and they made a great comeback to put themselves in position. But that was just a dumb play, and I don't know if there's anything to cry about. That was an obvious foul, and he did it right in front of the official. So I think Iowa was about to call timeout.
Yes, he was. He was because Bennett was turned away from.
Yeah,
he was turned away from the basket
for him to do it.
Yeah.
Anytime you swipe down, you got a great chance of getting called for a foul. It just, even if you get the ball clean, a lot of times they don't give. You're almost better going in with two hands and just grabbing it. But in that situation, just trap him right there. And if they call timeout, they call timeout. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there was no part of me understood that. There was no reason for any of that. And yeah, I mean, right in front of the officials too. I mean, Bennett was just not a threat. He was 30 feet away from the basket. He wasn't facing the basket.
Right.
Ben was running down the sideline towards him to call timeout too, I think. But that's just
crazy.
Those are things you can't do if you want to be a winning basketball team. So, all right, let's get to our Big Grove Big Play of the day here, and then we'll answer our phone line. Obviously, I think this was a pretty clear one. Alvaro Folgueras' 3-point field goal to make it a 6-point game. I think USC was on a 12-0 at that point. I think for Cam Woods,
something like that. Yeah,
12-0. That broke the run. So with 2:38 to go, Alvaro
had a few big baskets.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I thought had a really nice game. Competed down low, and that was, obviously during that period of time when Tavion was done for the evening. I think that was right. That was right after Tavion fouled out, wasn't it? That was like 30 seconds after. So it was kind of like, okay, where's the offense going to come from? And Alvaro said, "I'll do it," and pick and pop and nothing but net to kind of save the evening for Iowa. So I thought that was our clear cut Big Grove Big Play of the game. And please, we've got our banner here at the bottom. We've been plugging them all year. We got the logo up in the top right corner. But Big Grove does have 4 Iowa locations in Iowa City, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and then their location in Solon. And then they also have their brand new location in Omaha. And we've got their website on screen here on the banner here, official craft brewery of the Hawkeyes at biggrove.com. So go and check those out. Been great sponsors for us all year. Great relationship. Been able to do a couple of live shows at some of their locations. So that's been a lot of fun. So check those guys out. On our Big Grove Big Play of the game, Alvaro Folgueras' 3-point field goal to put Iowa up 6 with 2:38 to go. All right, let's go ahead and get to our phone line. If our caller's on the line, caller, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello. This is Paul. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. How are you?
I'm just peachy. I'm 78 years old, and I can't believe it, but I'm screaming at the TV again like I used to do when Tom Davis was coaching.
He had some bad assistants.
Engaged now. Second comment is I think we ought to start a GoFundMe for Combs, who I really like. I really like him. I think he's been contributing a lot to the team. But I think we need to raise a bunch of money because that kid needs a bunch of jock straps after guarding that other kid this tonight.
He had a tough assignment down the
How
stretch.
about, how about the coach that had the scouting report probably said, don't even guard the guy. And he goes off.
I wonder what that was like from Kale's perspective too, Coach. Like he's been instructed for the whole game to give this guy like 7 feet at the 3-point line. Oh, he's not a threat. He's only going to facilitate. Don't worry about it. And then he goes off for 33.
It's funny. Sometimes when go ahead.
He got to the basket a lot. So,
he did.
I mean,
that's the start.
And that gets anybody going, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a great way to get going.
The other thing I'd like to say is, of course, obviously Sturts is a tremendous ball player and, you know, probably one of the better point guards since B.J. Armstrong, I think. But he seems so nonchalant at the beginning of games sometimes that, which is okay, but then he gets his pocket picked. You know, by some of these guards, and I just wish, from a fan standpoint, I mean, I'm sure he's as intense as can be. You know, I'm sure he's an intense kid, but boy, I mean, he looks nonchalant when the games start, and but I don't expect. I mean, that's just kind of an off the wall comment. With finally. Here's my big question. The Murray brothers or Tavian Banks?
Whoa, that's a big question right there. I'll let you take that one, Coach.
No, I'm going to let you take that one.
Well, Keegan to me is a no-brainer over Tavian. Chris,
first-round draft pick.
Chris was first-round draft pick and put together an entire season too. Tavion's put together some very nice games, but I think we got to see a little bit more before
he's headed in the right direction.
He is. Yeah, I mean that's not to say he hasn't played great basketball, but that's a very high standard.
Well, I granted it's a short test pool here, but when it comes to getting timely rebounds, getting up and down the court, attacking the basket, and I know, that we're talking about a real good three-point shooter in the NBA, but Tavian seems to hit some pretty timely three-pointers himself. So I'm pretty impressed with the kid. And
not to mention the free throws too, by the way. My goodness.
Yeah. That's impressive.
That's been unbelievable.
Especially when you're an inside player, that really helps because you're going to get fouled.
He's on what's the streak at now, Coach? Let's see, 17, 18.
I'm not sure.
5, 6. It's at least 26. Close. It's probably close to 30 right now. Which the Iowa is it 30? What's the Chris Street record? 35, 37, somewhere in there. 36.
I should know it.
Yeah, they were talking about it. The announcers brought up that he's got 30 straight, and they brought up the fact that Alford, missed that one to break the record, and they were wondering what's going to happen, if and when it happens. So, but anyway, you're doing a good job there. You're a lot nicer than Corey, and I think
that's not hard to do.
See, I'm on here to have fun. I kind of ride Coach's coattails. Corey gets a night off tonight. We'll have some fun. All right. Well, that's good stuff there. Our chat's saying it's 34 and the record is 38. But as Ryan points out, we'll have Ryan on here in just a second. Wow. He's 4 off, but Ryan said Street died before he ever missed. So
34. Wow.
That's why it wasn't Alford that missed on purpose. It was J-Bo that missed on purpose. Yeah. Jordan Bohannon missed on purpose to break that record. So 4 to go. It will be very interesting because if I remember correctly, J-Bo had the luxury of missing that free throw because they were up by 13 or something. If Tavion gets close to that record and it's a close game late in the game, I mean, he's got no choice at that point.
It's probably going to be early in the game.
Probably. Yeah, the way he plays, because he shot in his last 3 games, he shot 1 against Rutgers, but he shot 8 tonight and he shot 9 against Indiana. So
that's impressive. When you're shooting 8, 9, 10 free throws, you're really helping your team out.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, again, not to make any comparison to the Murray twins, but like Tavion provides a level of athleticism that this team, I mean, if they didn't have him, they would be athletically outclassed by a lot of teams in this league, I think. And for him to come in and give them, I mean, he pops to me off the screen relative to the rest of the team. Whether, the wing size, obviously you got the 6'7" wing, that's a big deal, but just his ability in transition to get up and down the court. And then obviously the jumping ability in transition there when he gets the breakaway dunks and stuff. That's
right.
That's always fun, but you do need some of that. You can't, it can't all be perfect, pretty basketball all the time. So he's competing hard inside too. He got 7 rebounds tonight, 8 against Indiana, 7 against Illinois. So he's getting involved. So maybe by the end of the season, we're talking about him a little bit differently, but for now he's at 11 points and 5 rebounds. He's not winning any Murray twin comparisons just yet.
No, but he's heading in the right direction. That's for sure.
All right, let's go ahead and get to our next caller here. Again, if you'd like to call on the show, I'm going to give drop the StreamYard link in the chat one more time here. StreamYard link is in the chat if you'd like to talk to myself and Coach Close about Iowa's victory here over USC 73-72. But for now, we've got our good friend Ryan. Ryan, how we doing?
Gentlemen.
Ryan looks a little exhausted.
Actually, I was calm as a cucumber tonight. I really was.
I bet you did. You didn't yell at your TV. You just sat there complete peace.
Right? We were down 12-1, and I think it's a function of who our coach is. He doesn't, he's a little like Kirk in that he doesn't necessarily win sexy, but he wins. And I took a really calm approach in this game. And now I'm not thrilled with a 3-point-a-game guy looking like Kobe Bryant. That wasn't cool. But I'm pretty sure that's what Coach McCollum is making a big point of. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's one of those crazy things about the game. You just never know. I mean, we were talking about looking, I'm sure the scouting report laid that all out. I think sometimes when you play somebody differently, or you play your defense a little bit differently based on a scouting report like that, it can screw you up a little bit, like playing way off of somebody when you're not used to playing way off of somebody. And all of a sudden, now he drives at you. It's a little bit different than being right up on him. And I don't know if that had any effect to it, but once he got going, he was hard to stop, which happens a lot. So,
is there anything that's like kind of future predictive that comes from something like tonight, Coach? Like when Ben gets in the locker room, right? If he's told Combs the read on this guy, right? If he's given him a blueprint and then the guy goes nuclear for 33, do you just say that's basketball because to a degree it is just basketball and that's what happens? Or is there something you read into that? Is there something that opponents read into that as far as like random guys being able to go off against Iowa? Because I know that's been a thing at times with Fran where, we talked about, now again, different regime, different coaching regime, but, guys coming into Carver and they've scored 5 points in the last 3 weeks and then they go off for 30 or whatever. Is there anything predictive, or is that just kind of a one-time random occurrence that won't repeat itself?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll repeat with this team. We'll see. I think what it says, you got to adapt. I mean, these are major college basketball players, and even though his numbers aren't very good, he's there for a reason. And I think he's probably shown in the past that he's obviously a better scorer than his numbers. Was he hurt earlier in the year? Is that why he only had 8 games? I didn't.
Let me see. Well, the other thing I was going to ask you too about him, let me pull his game log up and see. Yes, he did get hurt. So that's why he's only had 8 games this year. And most of them are against conference opponents. So that could be another explanation, but
trying to fit him in, and he probably hadn't gotten a ton of minutes, and
yes,
so those all contribute.
Started tonight.
And do Do you think too, Coach? And I don't know. I'm just pulling his numbers up because I wasn't familiar. But he averaged 15 a game last year. He averaged 17 a game at another school that he went to. Like, does that help a guy in a sense versus a guy who's kind of developed on USC's bench for a couple of years and has never had that big game? I mean, because it looked like to me, again, I'm just going off of what little I know about him from what Corey said, and just a quick Google of his stat sheet. But like, you would imagine that it would be easier for a guy to get in a rhythm like that if he's averaged 15 somewhere else before. Because at that point, I mean, when you get that hot, the rest of the arena just disappears, and you're like, okay, it's time to dance, right? Do you think it's helpful?
Well, that's one thing you got to worry about when you don't
Yeah.
have a whole lot of information on somebody. He's only played 8 games.
Yeah.
It's a little different than if he had played the entire year. But then it shows you got to be, you got to be able to adapt. Somebody gets going, then you got to have the ability to try to stop that, and they weren't able to do that.
Yeah. Anything else, Ryan?
Oh yeah. So
come on, Ryan, you speak up.
Well, I try my best not to interrupt. I appreciate what you guys just said. It would be nice if the Big Ten got some officials with some integrity, like Theodore Valentine or Courtney Green, because they probably would have been better than these jabronis. The other thought I had is it was nice to see Fulgaris really become an impact player again. He had 27 minutes, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds, and a steal. I really think he was huge today. Tavion should be the player of the game, although you could argue Bennett for the clutch free throws. And then finally, Chris Street. 34 free throws in a row is the record, and Jordan obviously missed on purpose for the reason that Chris passed away 3 days later before we played again, and who knows? That guy was on a mission, and he might have gotten into the 40s. So whoever breaks it, and it'll probably get broken, whether it's Tavion or somebody else, it's going to be a little bit of an asterisk because there's no guarantee Chris Street would have missed the 35th. The way that guy played, he could have gone on 10, 15, 20 more. Who knows?
Well, let's pair that with Corey's just told me here he's going to throw some questions up. This is the first one. Corey says, Coach, having coached Chris Street, does Tavion have any obligation to miss a potential record-breaking free throw?
Well, that's a tough question. No, I don't think he's got an obligation. I think it's more personal. Like we had talked about earlier, if it's early in the game, maybe 1 point's not that big a deal, but no, what Jordan did was unbelievable. I still, when I see it, it's pretty impressive, but I think it's an individual decision. Nobody should be upset either way.
It was a 7-point game with about 3.5 minutes to go in that Northwestern game, and Bohannon missed it. He took, kind of a little bit of a gamble, but he bet on his team as well. I think in any other situation, a coach would have said, "What are you doing?" We won anyway. We won, fairly comfortably. It wasn't quite as tight as tonight. But like Coach said, if it's a really close or if it's early, just miss it. We should be good enough to overcome that. If it's, crunch time and every point matters and we're going to, as Mike Street himself said, do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'd be interested even too
there's an asterisk. There'll always be an asterisk because he never missed that 35th free throw.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah,
true.
absolutely. And like even Ryan, I'd be curious too. Like if they were in a situation like tonight and Tavion had say he hits the first two and he gets fouled again and they're down 13-2, like there's lots of time left, but I don't think you throw away a point at that stage either, right?
No. And again, I'm going to go back to what I just said, what Mike Street said.
Do it.
If we need that point, then go ahead and break it, because any Hawkeye fan who knows the history knows he died before he could even shoot that 35th free throw. And that sucks. But that's the way the world worked out.
This is an interesting comment from Hawkeye Girl 2003. She says, "What does it hurt to keep the tradition if the game isn't in jeopardy? Would love to see 10 guys' names in the record book." That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? If Tavion could add his name to the list and then he would miss, and then somebody else later, maybe Bennett at some point. He's certainly capable of doing something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
That would be a great tribute. But at some point, you'd have to think somebody's going to
know that you know that he never had a chance to end that streak, and he was a special player. I was 17 when he passed away. I remember that day like yesterday, and I wish I didn't. And I know Coach feels the same way. It was just freaking devastating. I can't even watch the YouTube videos. Yesterday at work, I tried to watch a Chris Street video on YouTube, and I started tearing up, and I had to stop. It's hard for me to still do 33 years later.
Mm-hmm.
He was my all-time favorite. I didn't think anybody would eclipse Roy Marble as my all-time favorite Hawkeye. He was Baby Jordan. He was fun. He was the all-time leading scorer at the time. He was amazing. And Chris Street came along. And for those of you who don't know, Chris Street is so special, I believe, because even though you had some guys like Troy Skinner who were good role players, the knock on the state of Iowa was you couldn't make it to the league if you were from Iowa. You weren't good enough. Chris Street comes in. Actually, he signs, I think, between his sophomore and junior year. He comes in. He's a starter about 5 or 6 games into his freshman year, and that never changed. And he would have been a first-round pick, probably in the 10 to 15 overall range. I mean, it's all speculation now, but at the time, there's no doubt he was a slam dunk mid-first round pick. And then we got Just Settles, and then we got others like Horner and Bruner who didn't make it to the pros, but definitely showed that you can play in the Big Ten if you're from Iowa. But Chris Street is what really brought that whole thing on, bringing respect to Iowa.
Well said.
Absolutely. Couple comments, and then we'll let Ryan go here. Oh, Ryan left us. Just while we're on the topic, Chris Street would want Ryan to join the Discord. That's a funny comment from Tony. I like that, Tony.
Join the Discord.
I didn't log off, but I guess I'm
not
back
sure what
on.
Happened. Chris Street would want you. And by the way, just so you know, I'm looking. I have one eye, kind of corner of my eye on Discord, as I do during the show, to make sure that we're not missing anything. Yep, we've got a banner. So I've got a Discord member that's.
I don't even know what Discord is.
It's
Ryan.skahill@gmail.com. SKAHILL. Send me a link and I'll join.
And even if you don't want him to join the Discord
with this stuff,
you now have Ryan's email, guys. So whatever, I'm not. You're gonna get some interesting emails now, Ryan, but that's okay.
I love the Hawkeyes, so that's cool.
Let's make that happen. We'll get Ryan in the Discord. We've got a member here willing to pay. So again, just to plug our Discord, it's an app you can download, kind of a message board that we've started with myself and Corey and Kashin, some of our other interns that work on wrestling and such, and social media for From the Hawkeye to the Storm. So please do get in there, $5 for a month or $50 for a year to Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. All that's in the description. Just label it Discord, and we will add you to that. Let me check our total membership here if I can. We've got 60 people in there right now. Nice. So 60 people in there. It's very active during games. We've got threads for different sports and whatnot. So when there's games going on, we're very active in there between games. Anytime there's transfer news or anything of that nature. So please do get in there. It's great community. Been great fun. Very, very happy that we got everything started there. Corey says, Coach, what would Chris want Tavion or future players to do in that situation? I think we've answered that a little bit, but if you want to have another stab at it.
He'd probably want him to make it. He'd want to beat people as bad as he could beat them.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know that
he was really into winning. Records were not that big to him, but I know he's very proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that he or anybody in his situation would have had any massive issue with it. Was J-Bo fairly close to the Street family, no, in that situation?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I remember him missing that. And then I think they were sitting courtside when that happened and had a little moment there and after the game. So that was very special. So if that happens, I mean, that would happen. There's great opportunity, like you're saying, that with the way that Tavion's attacking the basket, that it probably will happen in their next game. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. Obviously, there's let's see who. Let me pull it up. So it would be against. I'm trying to think. Oregon, on the road at Oregon. Okay, so there's a chance that they're up at that point in that game. Not a game that screams difficult for Iowa. Let me pull up BPI real quick. Yeah, BPI's got Iowa with a 70% chance to win. So that's possibly a game that they could get up in early and maybe not put them in such an uncomfortable position. So that'd be kind of fun to see that. I really like that idea from it was Hawkeye Girl 2003 that commented that we could get a few players on that list. I think that'd be incredibly cool. So all right. Let's have a look here at our updated metrics real quick. If there's anybody else that wants to call in, I don't know. I don't think we have anybody left on our Discord or on our StreamYard link here. So I'll throw the link up one more time. Iowa has fallen to 23rd in KenPom. Biggest trend in that is that they've fallen to number 41 in offense. They've been kind of pretty consistently trending down in that category since Big Ten play has started. I remember they were as high as 21 or 23 at one point, now down to 41. But the defense is hanging strong at 17. Again, we talked about it in our last show that me and you did together, Coach, but the highest that they've been in 20 years on defense since they were number 1 back in 2006. So that's obviously great to see. What do you want to see more of from the boys going forward? Obviously, they're headed to a tough road trip out west, not necessarily in terms of the teams that they're playing, but going out to play Washington and Oregon on the road back to back. What can they do in these next couple of games to kind of steady the ship offensively?
Yeah. I think, hopefully they can get a few more people involved, although that might be easier said than done. A couple guys are looking a little bit hesitant, so to speak, that are probably better than what they're showing, but I think that'll happen. I do think the layoff had something to do with it. That's 8 days is a long time to not play. So we'll see. And I think defensively, they've got to do a better job of keeping the ball in front of them. I think they got beat off the dribble. I think it was probably as many layups as they've given up all year, which that can get you beat. So
yeah,
I'm guessing that'll be a point of emphasis.
Absolutely. Now on a 3-game winning streak too, and favored in their next 4, I believe, until Purdue. Let's double check that real quick. Going to Oregon, they're the favorite there. They're going to Washington. They're a 56-44 favorite there. And then they're definitely favored in their next 2 games. So yeah, favored in their next 4 after a 3-game winning streak. Chance to build some momentum in the league. Before a couple of tough games, they host Purdue at Carver, and then they host Nebraska, who just picked up their first loss of the season in a very close game against Michigan. I mean, man, we just keep kind of marveling at what they're doing, but even that Michigan game was impressive. I know they lost, but that was an impressive performance. Yeah.
They didn't have masks, and they could have very easily won that game. I think they led it for about 38 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just weird. I'm scrolling through their schedule, and I have to, every time I see their name, I have to do a double take because there's a little 5 by their name.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go, wait, is that?
Hey, Michigan State was very lucky to beat Rutgers, and Rutgers is not good.
Yeah.
So you gotta play every game. I know that sounds cliche, but you go out to Oregon, go out to Washington. It's a long plane ride and things like that. They're gonna have to play well.
Absolutely, and they've got 3 top 12 opponents left on the docket here. They've got Purdue and Nebraska at home, and then they've got Michigan at home at the end of the season, and then they go out to Nebraska. They only have one quad 1 win to this point, 1-4 in quad 1, and then 3-1 in quad 2. So
they have 2 games left with Nebraska.
They play Nebraska twice, home and road, and then they play Michigan and Purdue at home. So it's kind of tough because you look at it kind of similar to the way the football team was for many years. They had a whole bunch of these losses against ranked opponents. They had the 13-game losing streak against ranked opponents or whatever it turned out to be. But you look at the actual list of the teams they played, it was like number 2 Ohio State, number 3 Michigan, number 4 Oregon, number 2 Ohio State. It's like, can you really blame them for losing any of those games? So it'll be tough for them to build up a big impressive slate of quad 1 wins. But it is, and nothing else, it is good for their metrics, good for Ken Pom, good for net, good for Bart Torvik, all that kind of stuff. If they can at least play them close. I don't know how much that. How much do you think they consider stuff like the net rankings and Ken Pom when they do the tournament stuff? Is it a lot on resume, or do they look at some of those analytics?
Oh, I'm sure they look at some of them. They try to gather as much information as they can. Yep. They just got to, sounds crazy, but they just got to take one game at a time and keep improving. I think that's the big thing. You just got to keep getting better. Some teams won't. And you want to be a team that like Purdue's in a rut right now. They've lost 3 games in a row. I can't tell you the last time Purdue lost 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
But it happens. So be interested to see how they climb out of it.
And they kind of had the same thing happen to them that Iowa had happened to us tonight with the kid going off for 46 against Purdue on Illinois, right? What was his name? The Weasler kid?
Oh, that kid's good. Yeah.
Yeah. He was really impressive. But even as good as he is, 46 that's an outburst. So stuff like that happens all the time. That's why I don't freak out about it too much. Cause like everybody's whether you play basketball on the professional level or just played pickup, everybody's had somebody go for 30 against them that they had no idea was any good. So it's you see a couple of shots go in and everybody thinks they're Michael Jordan. So all right, let's get to our caller here on the phone line. Looks like one more caller on our phone line, no more in our lineup here on StreamYard. So welcome to the show. How are we doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Happy to be talking about a win.
Or like a heart attack game and a heart attack.
Absolutely. A couple of them.
Just think if they'd have lost.
Oh my gosh. Would have been stunning.
That would have been devastating.
So what'd you think about the game tonight?
Well, can't have those slow starts for the rest of the season. And we got to finish strong.
Yeah, you just can't have that happen, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
they'll get those corrected. That's why it's good to go through. Gives you a little experience, and they can break it down. And hey, what things went right, what things went wrong. That's what we talk about when we try to improve. How do we get off to a better start? How can we slow somebody down when they're getting going? Things like that. So they'll figure that out.
I think that's probably the easiest way to get your team's attention besides losing a game, right? I would think Ben has the players' full attention right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything for Coach Caller?
I got one more thing. Actually, a couple minutes ago, I was watching some of the highlights on YouTube, and I saw one of the comments that says, I have yet to see where McCollum is a better coach than McCaffrey was. You got any opinion on that?
Well, they're different coaches. They got different styles and different strengths and things like that. So Fran did a great job. He's the all-time winningest coach at Wisconsin. I always enjoyed seeing him, being around and watching his teams play. And I really like Ben. I think he's a really, really good, excellent young coach. And I think Iowa made a great hire. It's a tough league. He's going to have to continue to get players, but I think he's a really good coach.
I would just say from an analytical perspective too, like the numbers over the last decade or two are pretty clear that you cannot win games in the tournament, or at least make deep runs in the tournament, without being solid on both sides of the ball. And while they have a ways to go offensively, the fact that they've taken such a giant leap on defense in his first year as head coach, I think is a huge testament to him and the both on the X's and O's side, and then also the communication that he has. I mean, I've observed firsthand being there as a member of the media a few times. Very grateful for those opportunities, because you get to be up close and personal with Ben. You get to hear how the players talk about Ben in the pressers post game, and he's a very direct communicator with his guys. They all fully respect his basketball IQ, and I would say him as a person as well. And I think he's able, and not to throw shade at Fran, but I think Ben's able to communicate with his players in a way that maybe very few coaches are, in a sense of, I mean, you can see Ben running out from the sideline and yelling at the guys during the game in a way that, he's not mincing words. He's, he'll get in players' faces, and he has their, sort of full trust that when he's doing that, it's not personal. They're, he's able to communicate with them in a way that gets their attention. That's not, he's not mincing words. He's not, talking around issues. So I love the way he communicates. And I would just point to the analytics early on and say, hey, this is the foundation of this program. If they're going to be that solid on both sides of the ball, they're going to be a program that at some point statistically is going to make a run. In Fran's teams, while he had a lot of teams with potential, they were never able to make that run.
Yeah, well, change was needed in the off season, and we got Ben, and he'll get his big win, first big win as a Hawkeye soon.
I think so too. They've got those 4 games. 3 of them are at home. So got Purdue at home. I mean, Purdue, hopefully they don't recover too much before Iowa plays them. Maybe you'll get them while they're still down a little bit, but then certainly that Nebraska game and Michigan game, if you could get one of those 3, those would be huge wins to kind of spur them on through the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for taking the time. Go Hawks.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for the call.
Go Hawks. All right. Well, I'm hearing from Corey that we have a couple of quick fire questions on Coach. Appreciate your time tonight. And we'll wrap this thing up. But it's been a good time, been good fun. Linda says, what is causing this team to have so many slow starts and also collapse with large leads? And I think just to add on to that, Coach, a team that at times, just being a casual observer, a team that looks so good and so promising at times, but also has these stretches of they're just anemic offensively for periods of 4, 5, 6 minutes. Is that as unusual as we're making it out to be, or do we just forget how often that happens in college basketball?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they, with the exception of Sturtz, Banks is starting to show it a little bit. They don't have a whole lot of guys that create their own offense. So when you're getting into a rough situation, you can just, isolate a guy and let him go, or, whatever. And I think Sturtz sometimes has trouble with quickness, although not too much. So, they are what they are and what they have. And, they, like we said, they just got to keep improving. But I think it's still, halfway through the year, maybe a little bit more, halfway through the Big Ten season. So let's see how much more they can develop. But it's going to be a team type of thing. I just don't know if they can. They have, with the exception of Sturtz, a guy that can just carry him for long stretches. Although Banks has shown a little bit of that, so we'll see. And then on the defensive end, it's a team thing, and I think they'll get that corrected as well. I think they've shown an ability to really play good defense, and that'll come with with more games and more experience and things like that.
And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know that I've seen, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that I've seen a ton of like necessarily defensive issues during these big runs that teams have gone on. It just, I mean, basketball, just the nature of the sport is if you go on these big long stretches without scoring, there's going to at some point be turnovers. There's going to at some point be long rebounds. There's going to be opportunities for teams to get out on the break. And there's just such a thing as momentum. If a team, I mean, one of the ways to get a team going is to get a few stops, right?
Right.
So at a certain point, like if you can't score, the offense on the other end is going to come easier to the opposition because that's just how basketball works, I think.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily know that there's those big stretches where they look horrible defensively. I think that was more kind of a Fran thing where it's kind of the reverse, where with Ben, sometimes they look a little bit disjointed offensively, but the defense is just what it is. And the other team makes a run. With Fran, it was like the offense looked good, but the shots just didn't go down. And then the defense was what let them up. I think it's kind of the reverse. But the other thing too, is again, like just to be totally upfront with people, like Fran McCaffrey, the all-time leader in wins, like he went 11-20 his first season. Like if you go back and look at like Steve Alford, he went 14-16. I've got the records by year up in front of me here. I mean, Tom Davis, obviously exceptional, went 30-5 in his first year. That's an exception. That is not a rule. But we just, we're in the first year of this experiment. It's a new coach. It's a guy that has not coached on the Big Ten level yet. I think the fact that they're in the middle of the league standings and, basically, I mean, at this point, all the available evidence says they're pretty much a lock for March Madness. I mean, they've got like a 98.5% chance to make the tournament at this point, I think, due to their record so far. This is a great place to be for the first year of a regime, especially when we're in an era right now where the previous coach left you one player on the roster, because that's just what happens to, players just abandon ship when the team loses their coach. So I don't think they're in a bad position at all. And I think, I mean, if anything, what's happening right now is a credit to Ben, not nothing against him. So, Coach Close, would you have gotten into it with the opposing coaching staff if Woods made that final basket and went full LaFester Rhodes? That would have been, man, that would have been a gut punch if he had made that shot. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, there's times that we come on here and myself, Corey, we're upset after a game. I would have probably just stood there for 2 minutes like this if he had made that shot. Like, just stood there with your jaw.
By a lot of people.
Oh my goodness! I mean, that would have been 22 straight by him, including a game-winning, buzzer-beating 3. Oh my gosh! I mean, that would have been something else.
He's probably thinking the same thing. He had a great game, but he didn't get the game winner. So it.
Oh, I know.
Takes a lot off of what he accomplished.
Bittersweet. He got a huge career high and an epic, I mean, really a truly epic performance down the stretch of that game when they really were dead in the water. Iowa had them dead to rights, and then magic happened. But all right, Shane says, Coach Close, can you actually teach players prone to fouling to not do it, or is it just inherent?
Oh no, you can definitely teach them. Most of the time when you watch people foul, they're getting out of position, they're using their hands too much, they're leaving their feet, things like that. Better positioning, using your body, getting in front of people. So definitely, you can definitely teach them. Then obviously it's up to them to want to improve, but no, you can definitely do that.
Is there anything you would have done in those last 5 minutes from a coaching perspective? I know kind of hindsight's 2020. It's tough in the moment when things are snowballing the way that they were, but is there anything you saw there? Any adjustment you would have made on Cam Woods down the stretch?
Well, that's a tough question to answer just because I don't know their team a lot in terms of what they were trying to do going in, but I definitely would have, just off the top of my head, shown more help towards him to keep him from getting all the way to the rim. I mean, he wasn't looking to pass it. He was.
No, he was not.
He was just taking it to the hoop and scoring. So I think, I think that's something they'll probably think about, how we could have defensively, how were we out of position, footwork, things like that, that got them in trouble guarding him off the dribble.
Does the scouting report change on him moving forward for the rest of the league?
I would say so. I think you'll still see people play off him, but maybe not to the extent that Iowa did. And like I said, sometimes you play off of people, it's just different. So you're kind of standing doing nothing. All of a sudden now you got to guard them, and it's just, it sounds ridiculous, but in some cases it happens.
Yeah. All right, we got a comment here that says, "Can someone explain what McCollum is doing with the under 5-minute offense? Stagnant is a kind assessment." Anything there, Coach?
Yeah, that's a really, that's a topic that's always talked about, where you are trying to use the clock and yet you still want to be able to attack, and it's a very fine line there. They had some shots they probably think they could have made that they didn't, but I think he's always been, and I think he does a good job of it. They run their offense till they get a good shot. And in some cases, in a possession, it doesn't take very long because the defense breaks down. And in some other cases, it takes a while. You're not going to rush to take a bad shot. So you go back and look at those 5 minutes and see what were good shots, what were bad shots. They passed up a few that I can remember, but that's all part of the growing process.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's things that Ben will look at to try and change too, but they did have a couple of opportunities there that the guys just passed up. And I mean,
right.
Is there much coaching there beyond just shoot the ball? Like, I don't know what else you say in those moments, but there'll be some things that he'll go back and look at. I mean, I don't know. There wasn't anything super glaring,
right?
Offensively. Right. It's just they had to put the ball up, especially when Tavion.
He'll probably be more concerned to the defensive end than the offensive end in terms of letting that guy go crazy.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Corey says, "I have concerns about Iowa's last-minute offense. Seems like it almost always ends up being a Sturts force 3. Do you see the same thing, Gary?"
I see a little bit of that. Yeah. Again, we talked about it. They don't have a lot of players that can break defenses down. And so what you've got to do is move and cut and screen and try to break defenses down that way. And in some cases, the defense is good enough and you can't. Now you want it in his hands, because who else would you want it in? And, you don't want to rush to take a bad shot. And so, a lot of times, when we were at Wisconsin, they talked about us being a slow team. And in some cases we were, because the defense was real good and we didn't have players that could just break defenses down. Then, our Final Four teams had some great players, pro players, and, we scored a lot more points because we had the ability to break people down quicker. So nobody wants to rush into a bad shot. You want to get a good shot every time. And in some cases it takes you most of the shot clock.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when you have that one great player that you're kind of looking to give the ball to late in games, when that player doesn't have, how do I put this, like big athletic advantages,
right?
It's tough because, like, for Bennett, right, it takes him time to break a defender down, right? Because he doesn't have that the kind of integral physical advantage. He's got to actually get you off balance, which he's got to do with a series of dribble moves, right? Mm-hmm. And hesitations and whatever he's got to do to get you off balance. But if everything doesn't go perfect in that sequence, then you're out of shot clock time really quickly. And that happened twice. That happened with Fulgaris once, where he got the ball poked at the end when he was making a dribble move to try to get someone off balance. And then the ball goes back and he's got to chuck up a 40-footer at the end of the shot clock. That happened again with Sturts, where he got it poked and then he had to throw up a shot with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. I think and that's not a Bennett, Sturts, or Alvaro Fulgaris thing. Like, you go to any player in the NBA that is a great player, but doesn't have that either the size advantage or the athletic advantage. Like Steph Curry's the same way. Steph Curry struggles late in games. If you go back and you pull his numbers up, unless it's a catch and shoot 3 with, under a minute to go, he struggles to get his own shot off. And he's gotten better as his career's gone on. But I think it's, that not having that physical advantage, there's this mindset with basketball teams and coaches where it's like, okay, we got to get the ball to our best player at the end of the game. And that's true to an extent. But if your best player doesn't have that, that imposing size or quickness or whatever, it's not a slam dunk. You're relying on him to make a great play, which That's what great players do, but it's not a given when you don't have that kind of advantage.
No doubt.
All right. Corey says, one final note. Let's not forget that Iowa went through a stretch in that Indiana road win where Tate and Connerway had about half a dozen blow-by layups. Defending quickness could really be an issue in March. Yeah. There you go. I mean, I certainly agree with that, Coach. I'll let you give your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's been the case all year. So that's where you need to be a good team, defensive team, so that you can, guys do get beat, at least they don't get all the way to the rim. And I think that'll be, from a defensive standpoint, that'll be the biggest thing that they're going to be concerned about. Like I said earlier, I think that's as many layups as they've given up all year. I don't know how many it was, but I'm going to guess their 2-point percentage was way too high, and they'll have to shore that up a little bit.
Is that, from a coaching perspective, is that more like, are you coaching more the point of attack when it comes to the blow-bys? Are you coaching the rotations on the back end? What's both?
Yeah,
okay.
Both. Yeah, you got to have, people are going to get blown by.
Yeah.
And that's where your positioning off the ball is really vital. And then they talk about helping the helper, where if somebody comes to help, then you got to help him. And that takes time that's where, team defense is so important.
Absolutely. Let's see here. So I'm just trying to figure out that 2-point percentage because I'd like to know that. USC took 38 shots from 2 tonight and hit 23 of them. So 23 divided by 38. So they shot 61% from 2. So spot on there. That's that won't cut it, especially at home.
No. They'll have to shore that up.
Interesting tonight. Obviously didn't have much of an impact. But we did see Brennan Housen tonight. He had to chuck up a shot from 35 feet again at the end of the shot clock and didn't really get any great looks. But nice to see him. Wish he would have had a little bit more of an impact. Any thoughts on his, finally making an appearance?
Yeah, not really. I really haven't seen him play much, so I'm kind of in the dark as far as that goes. But obviously they could need, it's great to have somebody be able to add to the mix. We'll have to see if that's the case. We still got half this Big Ten season left.
All right, Coach. Been great fun with you here. I'm good to let you go unless you have anything more to add. But it's been fun hanging with you for the last hour 15.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll hopefully see you after a win out in Eugene.
All right. That sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Coach. All right. Well, good to talk to Coach Close as always. I'm going to hang out for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll get things wrapped up. Do want to hit our Big Grove's big play of the game here real quick. Once again, Alvaro Forgueras' 3-point field goal to put Iowa back up 6 with 2:38 to go in the second half at a point where they really needed that basket. 12-0 run for 12-0 run for Cam Woods. I still can't believe what we just watched, but 12-0 run from Cam Woods that was interrupted by Alvaro Forgueras made 3 to build that lead back up to 6 that Iowa was able to then barely hold on to in the end. So Alvaro Forgueras has our big play of the game from Big Grove. Again, please go and see Big Grove at all their Iowa locations. And their Omaha location as well, which we were able to get a show at earlier this year. Our From the Hawkeye of the Storm player of the game, we're going to call it the Corey Bratta player of the game tonight in honor of our sick friend Corey Bratta. Tavion Banks had 20 points tonight, 5 of 11 shooting, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Did foul out, but had 7 rebounds and 5 turnovers, which I'm sure he won't be ecstatic with. Bennett Sturts had 4 as well, but there's a degree to which those two players, if they have 9 turnovers, they probably had the ball in their hands for, I don't know, half the game. Cale Combs had it quite a bit as well, but they're doing a lot of ball handling right now, a lot of offensive creation. So there's an extent to which those turnovers are kind of inevitable. But Tavion is Corey Bratta's player of the game tonight with 20 points, 5 of 11 from the field and 8 of 8 from the line as he approaches the Chris Street free throw record. We may see that broken or tied out in Eugene. Be interesting to see the scenario, but certainly an interesting thing to follow coming up. All right, so let's just recap here. We'll get one more plug for one of our sponsors, and we'll wrap things up. Thanks for chilling with us tonight, everybody. Brad Van Meter is a proud sponsor from the Hawkeye of the Storm. You can call him at 515-256-6480 or visit his website, bradvanmeter.com, or you can visit him in person at 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines, Iowa for all of your insurance needs. Again, that's 515-256-6480 for Brad Van Meter from State Farm for all of your insurance needs. We thank Brad for his constant support of the show. All right, everybody. Again, I was going out to Eugene here, got a West Coast trip on the back of 3 straight wins after 3 straight losses. They'll play out in Eugene, out in Washington, and then they'll come home for a game against Northwestern before heading to Maryland. Let's see if they're favored in that Maryland game. I would assume they are on the road. Yep, 72%. So they're favored in their next 5 games. We'll see if they can go ahead and rip off 5 straight. That would be absolutely huge for their chances at the tournament and also for their seeding in the tournament. They're 5-4 in conference play, so if they could get another 4 or 5 wins here, get to 7 or 8 in a row, and put them right where they need to be. So big stretch coming up here. A couple of great wins against Rutgers, Indiana, and USC. And before we head out of here tonight, I'd like to plug 2 more things. Number 1, my own personal social media. I'm not going to do this at the beginning of shows, but if you are interested, I do throw stuff up from time to time. For those of you that don't know, I'm a local Iowa City golf professional in the Iowa City area. So doing some lessons, some teaching, coaching. But go find me on Kyle Spence Golf on Instagram and YouTube and also Twitter. I don't use Twitter a whole lot, but Twitter as well, but mostly Instagram and YouTube. Kyle Spence Golf is the handle. So if you drop me a follow, that'd be much appreciated if you're enjoying what we're doing here. And then also one more plug for our Discord. Again, been tons of fun. $5 a month is just a bargain for what we're doing in there. We've got over 60 members in there now with our additions tonight. So over 60 people in there, community from people that watch the shows, that love Hawkeye sports, that love to talk Hawkeye sports. So do yourself a favor and get in there. We got our ticker here at the bottom. Join our Discord server. $5 a month, $50 a year, PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. Label your donation with the word Discord, and we will get you in there. Send your email, and we will add you in. So, all right, everybody. What a night. What a win for Iowa. Iowa defeating USC 73-72 inside the friendly confines of Carver-Hawkeye Arena before heading out west. What was that is all you can say, but they did get the win, and that's all that matters. Appreciate it, everybody. It's been fun. We'll look forward to a couple of wins out west and sweet dreams after that Cam Woods barrage and a tight Hawkeye victory. Appreciate you hanging with us for the last hour and 20, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow if Corey's feeling better. We'll hope that he's game for a Iowa women's basketball post-game show, but if not, we will see you on February 1st after Iowa hopefully defeats Oregon. Good night, everybody.